I'd like to call the October 24th, 2022 Road Committee meeting to order. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first thing on the agenda is to discuss the West Shore Drive plan. The public hearing was held on Wednesday. During the public hearing, Army Corps referenced part of their regulation. And I actually went to it today and I emailed it to everyone. I don't know if anyone has had a chance to look at it.
I did.
So, check your email. I mean, the regulation is there. I also, sent it to the selectmen. So that they have that section he was talking about as far as their regulations.
Yep.
So, at this point, since we have had the, regulators in to talk to us, I'd like each of us to go through and give our thoughts on what direction we think that we should recommend for the selectmen, to move forward. So, Adam, I'll start with you.
Oh, geez.
I'll put you on the hot seat.
Phew, I thought it should have been Will. Listening to the whole thing, there's gonna be a road change. I mean, that's with the in-kind, it's gonna be up a couple feet. I mean, if they could do the box culvert with the bridge deck, if that keeps it flat, that satisfies everybody regulatory, but maybe not.
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I mean, until this is decided on, then we'll be able to figure out, they're gonna say, put their 2 cents in, and everybody's gonna get their final opinions in. I mean, there may be some changes in the engineering drawings and stuff like that. But, I don't know. I don't think we should be trying to, if we can keep that road, it's where it is, it's the best thing we can do. And if we do an in-kind, that's gonna go up 2 feet, from what I'm understanding. And that's gonna cause a lot of issues with drainage, and that's, unless we can rip those hills out, which I don't think that's gonna happen. You know, that's gonna change.
Okay.
See, I think they should come up with a plan to do that. Just take the hills out and make the whole, and that way
Straighten it out a little
that way you
bit.
know what you're looking at, you know? If we're
Right.
gonna dump money on it, it's just my opinion, if we're gonna dump money on it, we might as well just,
I mean, that's
Do it.
right when you come around the corner. I mean, there's so many, there's blind corners there, and it's just, and it's thin.
I mean, if you're getting into it, I think you should get into it all at once, that's just my opinion on it.
I don't believe, when they said that the lifespan is about equal, I don't believe that for a minute.
No, I don't think so either. I mean, a box culvert's got a lot longer life than aluminum, I would assume,
Either aluminum or, yeah, or,
concrete. Concrete's gonna make that thing real small, and there's no way inland fisheries would.
And a box culvert will meet DOT 100-year storm,
Yeah,
that in-kind will not. And DOT is not gonna be happy about that.
right. There's a lot of factors with this.
Yeah, there's a lot of, everyone's got their fingers in this.
That's why I think you should go with the best of the three, right, with the box culvert, because it's the easiest.
so the
The
box,
permanent will be a lot easier.
I think the box culvert is gonna be your best bet.
I agree.
The in-kind, there's too many variables, as far as, one, the time window we have for the in-kind is too narrow. The material for below water line is, that's gonna be a nightmare, because if we disturb anything, we do
Oh, it could
one
get
thing,
bad.
one thing wrong, Army Corps is gonna make us pull that back out, and then we're gonna be putting a box culvert in anyways.
And with the amount of press, basically, you wanna say, with this, them being involved so much. I mean, Colin's not gonna run out and start pointing fingers, but like you
Somebody can
said,
easily call.
but somebody could call.
Right, exactly.
he was very clear that we have been put on notice what is required.
Yep.
And, you know, a lot of people will tend to want to hear what they want to hear, but he's been very clear that, beyond certain parameters, it would be considered willful, which would,
Because we've been fully notified of how to do this
because we've been
properly.
notified, and he has been down here numerous times to guide us.
The only thing I have with the Colin there is when I got up last Wednesday, and I don't know, the whole in-kind thing, I feel like, I don't wanna say he backtracked on what he said, but like, I got up there, he's like, oh, well, we can come up with a compromise, and I got right up there and said, well, we start putting sandbags in the water, would that be considered, fill underneath the low water mark? He said, well, we can, like, you made it sound like, he'll work with us on it, but like, I don't get a warm and fuzzy feeling out of any of that, it's just,
It's not worth the chance, in
I
my
went,
eyes.
I went.
I wanted to rewatch the video, I haven't had a chance to.
I did do that this afternoon. I watched it again,
And what did he, like, what?
paid very close attention to how he spoke and how he chose his words, and he chose his words very carefully. As far as, I'm not telling you what to do, and he won't tell us what to, to do. However, I did hear, caution in his words. It's like, you need to be careful. And like I said, after I read that, after I watched that, I went and found the, part of the regulation that he talked about, that whatever, section 330.3, I went and I, like I said, I've emailed it to all of you, I've emailed it to all of the selectmen, so that is there. I am uncomfortable with, well, Cindy, you go first.
I just think the box culverts are really ugly. And there should be consideration made to the fact that you have very nice properties that pay a lot of money in taxes around them. And where we don't have to do this until next year, perhaps we can look for a better design than what we've seen so far. I can't help, every time I drive by that one on 109, it just looks bad. And I think there are other ways to do it. The University of Maine has a design department that's looking at stuff, and there's a firm in Brewer called AIT that makes their own. You can make a box culvert that isn't just that big thing that sticks out both ends. They can make it to size, and it's the same thing. It's the new structurally made material, and it's right out of here in Maine. But I think a little time and maybe looking at a better design to please everybody.
I'm still uncomfortable with taking a chance with the in-kind as far as going through and trying to do a in-kind replacement with no permits. We're opening ourselves up to a lot of liability, if we can even find a construction company that would be willing to do it without a permit, which I haven't heard anyone say anything, talk about. When I went up to the conference, a couple weeks ago, I spoke with, a couple of engineering firms, and kind of asked them, let me pick your brain a little bit. This is what we're looking at. What are your thoughts?
Would they laugh at you?
No. One of them even actually wants to be notified when the RFP goes out for the engineering, because they're based in Saco. But they said that it would be very difficult, if not impossible, to find a company willing to take on that kind of risk, to do an in-kind replacement with no permits.
Yeah, because the fine will probably go on the company, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And the town.
And the town.
Yeah. So,
I didn't think of that, Leslie. That's a pretty good point.
yeah. Yeah, who's gonna do it? You know, it's, you know, Will and Adam, you guys do a great job, but do you have the expertise to do something like that?
No, I wouldn't touch that culvert if you give me $1 million.
Would you even consider doing that without a
I
permit?
wouldn't even, no, I don't even have the equipment to even touch that culvert.
Well, no, even if you did, would you do it without a permit?
Well, I mean, who knows? Probably not, but
If you did, I hope your liability insurance is up to date.
that's pretty good.
And even if it was, you know, an insurance company might not cover you for something like that because you did it
probably,
without a
yeah.
permit.
Pollute Square Pond, that wouldn't be good. I don't know, I think option 3, I hate to say it, but I think that's gonna be the only way we can go, really. That's where I'm at. I mean,
The box culvert.
Yeah, are we ready to make a recommendation to the selectmen?
the only other thing I think we could do is like, what they said the other night is, I don't know if we should wait another week, like, call the engineering company and maybe they can find something else, but I don't
They
think.
worked on it long enough.
Yeah, this is beyond.
We keep dragging this out, this is never
And
gonna
Will,
get done.
also too, I don't know, you may not know this, but, the selectmen have requested that Army Corps not speak to you or me anymore.
No, that's
I'm
funny.
sure that, I'm sure that probably Inland Fisheries has been told not to talk to us. and
That true,
probably
Tom?
The, engineer,
Did someone tell you this?
yes.
Who told you that?
Army Corps told me that they've been requested to not speak to me or Will,
Well, you probably should go to the selectmen meeting and ask them.
so.
Well, you're here, Tom, I mean,
I'm not aware of that, but, you know,
What?
perhaps that was addressed, so I would ask the question.
Yeah. So, that's, and he told me that after the meeting.
I don't know anything about that.
Yes,
Will
that-
Jim Foster be able to come down and maybe take a look at this?
Well, we'll get to him later. We'll get to him later down here.
Okay.
Yes, Dennis?
As a member of the public, I want to give my feelings about moving forward with this. This has been going on for 3 years. And we've hired the engineer that the selectmen wanted to do the plans. As a taxpayer, what we should be looking at is what is the length of time that one of these things are gonna last. And one thing you don't really hear too much about, you hear about the concerns of the people on Square Pond about boats and stuff like that. But what we really should be looking at is what's best for the environment. And because these people on the lakes are saying how important the environment in these lakes are. And so what the town should be doing is what's in the best interest of the environment for Square Pond and Stiles Brook. And so my suggestion would be that you guys do make a recommendation tonight. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that the box culvert is the best way to go, financially and for the environment.
And there was a comment made at one of the selectmen meetings, I believe it was the selectmen meeting, that the cost between all three would be about equal, and which is actually inaccurate because there's a $150,000 grant that the grant period is open at this point. So that would reduce the cost to the town if we were able to access that grant by $150,000, which would significantly alleviate the stress on the taxpayer.
And that would be only for the box.
Only for
The box
a
culvert.
stream crossing.
Yes.
Yes, Buck?
Hi, just so you guys know, my background is electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, and industrial engineering. I attended the meeting on the 19th, and based on everything I heard and what I read from the stuff you guys have been doing, I don't think you guys have a chance to start work on July the 15th. Who is managing this? You need one program manager to do the whole damn thing from now till the job is finished. With 6 of you and the 3 guys from Army Corps of Engineers, all you've been doing is talking. Somebody needs to be assigned to run this project and to have a plan by days as to when what has to get done to be able to start work on July 15th or whatever that start date is. If you don't do that, we're not going to have a bridge next year. Okay? I have run projects over the last 50 years, both here and overseas. And without project management, you're not going to make it.
And Buck, you're absolutely
I
right.
hate to tell you that, okay?
Oh, I totally
The other
agree.
issues, couple of issues that I had was, you need somebody other than Ransom that you've got, okay? You need to compare it with somebody else a little more. I don't think that lady that attends knows her what end from what end. I read the report that they submitted, okay? We're talking, somebody asked a question, how high is the culvert? You know, the one said 7 feet, the other one said 8 feet, maybe 10 feet. Come on, guys. We're not building a Lego thing. We're building a bridge. Okay? And, you know, unless the selectmen, who, as far as I'm concerned, haven't really managed this thing, they should be involved in it every time you have a meeting. Not only when they have their meetings on Wednesdays. Okay? Selectmen are going to authorize the funding. They better have their ducks together in line before they authorize the spending. Okay? You need a full-time person. The other thing I noticed was the Fish and Game guy is looking to raise the diameter of the culvert. Now, unless we get everybody on the same page, this thing's not going to happen, okay? As far as I'm concerned, you don't have enough time to build that thing start work on July 15th, unless you assign a project manager to go through this detailed, full-time, to be able to do this job. You as a committee can't do it,
No, and I completely agree with you.
okay? You as a committee can't do it. As far as I'm concerned, we're not going to see this culvert till 2024, if at all. Unless we manage this thing, it is not going to happen. I don't give a, you know what, all right? I think you need a permit, whether you like it or not. Okay? I listened to the guy the other day. He's not saying you need it, but I think you need it. It'll be insurance against getting into trouble. Okay? You definitely need a permit. I don't know what it costs. How long does it get to get a permit?
It takes, according to their paperwork, it takes about 45 days,
Okay?
once it's submitted, to get an answer.
Okay.
All right,
So
that doesn't count the time to go between.
this is end of October. 45 days will be mid-December. Okay? How long does it take to get the design finalized? Do we know that?
No.
We haven't got to that point, Buck, we haven't even picked one. I understand your concern, Buck, but I did what the selectmen asked, I got the engineering things, and the people on West Shore Drive were dragging this out. We could've made a decision a week ago, Buck, you know that just as well as I do.
Look.
This is all about the people on West Shore Drive, Buck. I'm not trying to get in an argument with you, Buck, but this is what the we brought everybody back, Buck, because that's what people want.
Hey, that's fine.
Well, I'm just as frustrated as you are, Buck, okay? I want this project done and in the rearview mirror, okay? I don't even want to be here right now, Buck, but we're here because of the concerns of the people on West Shore Drive. Everybody sat up here the other night telling me that the vote can't go through. Buck, I'm talking, okay?
Yeah,
Everybody sat up here the other night talking about votes that can't go in there. I don't know a single person on West Shore Drive that can get their vote through that culvert besides the other vote. And people sat here and told those people they can. So what's the safest point, Buck? Why, just we'll make a decision tonight, we'll prolong it right along. The engineers were just gonna put it out to bid and all that stuff. That's all in the bid, Buck, okay? I'm not trying to get frustrated with you, Buck. I understand, but we're here because of the people on West Shore Drive.
you know something? You work for the people on West Shore Drive.
I understand that.
Right, so you have no right to blame the people on West
I'm not
Shore
blaming
Drive.
everybody. I'm
Because
not-
you guys have not provided answers to those guys.
We just did, Buck.
No, you didn't. You had your meeting.
What was the point of the people here last week, Buck?
Hey, look at the questions that you put forward. Bunch of shit.
I didn't put those forward.
Well, you guys asked whether the selectmen or the town asked for questions.
And I'm not blaming anybody, but I'm not blaming the people on West Shore
All
Drive.
I'm telling you is, based on the way you guys are going now, you are not going to have a culvert started on 15th of July. I don't give a shit what you guys tell me. It is not going to start. There are things that happen that you have no control over. This is a big project, guys. It's a big project. You don't have control over everything. You've got the Army Corps of Engineers, you've got the Fish and Game guys, you've got contractors you're gonna have to work with. You've got to get bids before you can do this. You haven't done any of that.
That's why we're trying to get through.
We haven't got to that
No,
point
but
yet,
that's what I'm
Buck.
saying.
Why we're gonna make the steps if we
I know, but
prolong
I'm
this.
saying somebody needs to micromanage, a program manager needs to manage this thing, not in a committee form.
But Buck, we don't have the authority to do that.
Ask for the authority. Ask the selectmen.
That's a selectman's,
That's a selectman's job. Ask them.
So,
And tell them that if they don't do it by assigning a full-time program manager, it's not going to happen.
I mean, I just said that I was told by Army Corps that they were instructed to not speak to us. So, I mean, that,
Like Tom said, go to the town meeting and ask the question. Who said that? Well, there were only 2 selectmen there. So can we guess who said that? We know who said that. Okay, we know who said that. So slam the son of a gun. Okay, all I'm saying is, guys, this is a big project. Needs to be done correctly. Okay, needs to be done correctly. You have to micromanage the timetable, if at all you want to get to July 15th. At this rate, we haven't picked a contractor. We haven't finalized the design. We haven't got a permit. All these things have to be date by date. You have to have a program. Otherwise, it's not going to happen, guys.
You're probably not gonna get a contractor in there before July.
You're not going to get...
You haven't talked to them by now.
Unless you book them now.
Yeah.
You're not going to get it. So thinking that we're going to have that done in July, we're full of shit. Unless you take a very aggressive approach, assign somebody, even if you have to pay them, and give them the responsibility. The person needs to be an engineer. Person needs to be able to work with other people. He has to be a program manager. Okay? I'm not picking on you.
Well, I'm not picking on anybody, Buck, but you're literally up here yelling, getting.
I am yelling, I'm a West Shore Drive guy.
I understand, but Buck, I'm not taking it out on the people then, but Buck, we've brought Army Corps here, they were here last year, Buck. We've met out at the culvert, we brought everybody we can here because of the concerns that the people have on the road, Buck. And we've done, and you wanna sit here and tell me I don't care about the people on West Shore Drive? I could sit here, we could've got one design, Buck, the third one, and we could've just never had anybody's opinion.
But not
Right?
not at this time.
But I'm taking.
Do we have somebody qualified to review that design and say that's what we have to do?
Was that what you hired, so we hired an engineer for?
One engineer? If that lady is the engineer, I would worry.
I don't believe we have anyone either on the road committee or the selectmen who are qualified to.
I would worry because I'm looking at that thing and there's not enough meat in there to tell you what's gonna be, because everywhere you see they've got a clause. Maybe it won't work, maybe it won't do this. And you heard the guy from, Army Corps of Engineers. He was right. He is putting us on notice that unless we get our act together, it ain't gonna work. Okay? So I don't know what to tell you other than I think you need to talk to the selectmen right away, this Wednesday's meeting, and you need to get approval to get somebody to run this project. You can't run it as a committee. Okay, you can't. Somebody needs to be responsible for this thing, one person. And you gotta give that person full control over all the steps. There's gotta be a plan by day, otherwise she's not gonna make it, guys, I'm sorry. I've run projects here and overseas, and I'll tell you, contingencies happen. And that's one of the reasons I think you gotta get a permit. File for it now. Because contingencies do happen, let's face it. Things do go awry, and we're dealing with water, lakes, rivers, we're dealing with all that. Unless we have somebody who is an expert in that field, we don't want to get into trouble because that's a roadway. Now, one of the other things that we got to do now is find an alternate way to move people. That's got to be decided now.
Yeah, I had submitted questions for the selectmen, which have not been addressed yet.
Well,
And I can't answer why.
ask for a special selectmen's meeting. You can ask for that, call for an emergency selectmen meeting. Because they work for us. Get them off their butts. Ask for a meeting only to handle this, not their normal Wednesday meetings. Ask for a meeting, you're a committee. It's your responsibility to help put this culvert together. Ask for a special meeting,
Thank you, Buck.
okay?
Tension in the air. Is there actually a design, or only that little pamphlet that was from Ransom on those concept options is what I would call them?
They were engaged to do 3 sketch plans, which is what they gave us.
The concept.
The sketch plan is not an
The
engineer.
stuff that's in here,
Yes.
those are just concepts, they're not designs.
No, they're not
Okay.
designed, no.
So-
It still needs to be engineered.
Right,
Once,
that was my understanding, that all you have right now is just, you're trying to gather information, which is the normal way to do it. You have 3 different concepts.
Yes.
I'm not gonna call them designs, they're concepts. Now it's for you to come up with your recommendations to go to the board, because you have no real authority on this beyond giving them the recommendation.
Right.
Then they have to actually go and, based on your recommendation, pull the trigger and either go with your recommendation or scrap it or do something differently, all right? Because right now you don't have funding for this beyond what you've done, correct?
Not really.
No, I mean, there's funding, yeah.
You just had funding just for the concept. Correct. Design work, okay. So the onus, once you go and you make a recommendation, the onus is on the Board of Selectmen to make a decision, one way or another, whether or not you're gonna move forward or not. I feel Bob's tension here, but there's no design yet. It's gonna be all up to the selectmen, and I sort of agree with them that maybe there does have to be a separate meeting with the selectmen to just focus on this, hash it out, and figure out which way the town is gonna go, and actually have a design made. In the design, part of that package will have alternate travel ways for during construction and everything else. So, I mean, that's gonna be a moot issue right at this point.
Well, actually, no, I mean, if you read through the packet, they say, is there a alternate route to go to get people around? One of the questions I submitted for the selectmen was, do we have that? Do we have it in writing? And if not, why not? And what is the plan?
But see,
And that has not been addressed.
Is that from an engineering design perspective, when you actually go and send this out to bid, you're gonna ask for means of ingress, egress beyond the work area for the residents, and they're gonna have to come and design some alternate route, either through permitting, through another person's land, or, I'm not familiar with the area over there on West Shore Drive, or an alternate bridge during construction, you know, a bypass route. But that's gonna be part of the design package.
Right.
And that's something that you have to specify when you actually put it out to bid. That's part of the package. So I wouldn't worry about that right now. When you go to selectmen and they actually go and they submit something to an engineering firm or send it out for bid, that's gonna be one of the items that has to be checked off. And they'll actually come up with some type of plan based on the amount of traffic and the type of vehicles and emergency vehicles, et cetera. So anyway, I just was wondering whether there was something else besides what I've read so far, because all I've seen is.
No, there's not. There's just those 3 sketch plans that, and then you're absolutely correct, is that we need to make a recommendation, and then the ball's in their court then at this point.
Correct.
We've done, as far as I can see, everything that we can up to this point. And now, once we go in on Wednesday and make our recommendation, it's all on them.
Yep. But I also agree with Bob, there does have to be a project manager, but that's not for here for right now.
Yeah. That's for them to make that decision.
This letter that you got from Ransom, Will, is there a page missing? I know they're paged, the numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, et cetera, but between page 2 and page 3, there's text that's missing. Because page 3, the top of page 3 is a non sequitur. I mean, it just starts halfway into a sentence and I don't know what came before it.
What page 3 you said?
Page 2 ends with the sentence,
It's on the top, did you get the top?
I don't have two-sided. Top of page 3 just starts not have any wheeled or tracked equipment.
It's down here, it's on.
Okay, so you have a two-sided page then?
Yeah, I have page 2. Well, it'd be,
My page 2 is right here.
no, do you flip it? It's right there. Right? It went right here. You read, and it was right there. I see it. There's that bullet right there. There's this bullet, and there's that end right there, and then mine's the same way.
Okay, so I'm just reading that oddly because it doesn't seem to flow.
Right, like see how I have the same thing, it says materials are on the culvert, not have wheeled and tracked equipment, so you have the same thing. So it's just, you have it here, but I have it right here.
Right, okay, but read the sentence though. Avoid erosion control materials around the culvert, semicolon, and then not have wheeled tracked equipment in the water. Okay, it's just sentence structure then.
I have the same thing.
It just doesn't seem to make much sense. Okay, good enough. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Charlie. Okay.
Do you guys wanna vote on it?
Well, we gotta have a motion first.
I have a motion, we ask the selectmen to get a project manager for this and start there. I think that's a good idea.
Well,
Well, we have to make a
we have to
decision.
make a recommendation.
For which bridge?
Yes, for which.
Boy, I'd sure like to have the bridge ranger or somebody else look at it, that has no axe to grind. I mean, that's what he's for.
Well,
I disagree. You look at all the bridge crossings that they've been putting in of late, look at, 111, Log Cabin Road, there's actually two of them on Log Cabin Road that they've done, they've been using box culverts. I know they're not the most pretty things in the world, but they work. It's,
Natural bottom is the key too.
right, natural bottom, and they work. The one on 111, unfortunately, the state didn't use the aprons like they should have, they extended it out. But if you go to Log Cabin Road, there's two of them that the state put in, and they don't look bad. Yeah, we need to make a decision, because it is gonna be 2 years before this does get done.
yeah,
And that culvert,
Well, we drag it out.
we can't drag our feet any longer, and we need to do what's in the best interest of the town as a whole. I mean, you're working with Army Corps, which they're hard to deal with. I mean, we deal with them in the port, like, I feel the pain, but I've also seen the repercussions of it. When you don't do your job, or you don't follow their guidelines, they will come back on you. They have zero sense of humor of anything. So,
I've dealt with Army Corps of Engineers. And, I mean, this guy that was here was very good. In the sense that he's giving you all the information that you need and what you should do. We should take his guidance, because you're gonna need to work with him.
correct,
yeah.
absolutely.
We can certainly ask for a project manager to be assigned or to be hired. I certainly have no problem when I go and give a recommendation on Wednesday to tell them that, that needs to happen in order to expedite this, and to make sure things flow in the manner that they should, so, nothing gets missed that is gonna put us in a bad position later down the road. I mean, I don't know, a lot of us don't have that kind of expertise. We need someone to guide us.
In the time.
Right.
The time.
And the time, you're right. So, but I do think that we should be making a recommendation on what type of a culvert we think should be going there.
I got the impression from the Army Corps of Engineers that your best bet is a identical setup, rather than make any major changes to the actual culvert.
That wasn't what I heard.
Because it needs to be almost a plug-in replacement.
That's for the in-kind.
And it's for the in-kind.
You can't get a permit, they won't give you a permit for that. So if we wanna get permits, we're gonna have to do the box culvert.
Yeah.
And the box culvert is also, there's grant money possible for us. That's gonna save the town money, the taxpayers' money,
A significant amount of money.
so.
Is the the box culvert that these guys are offering, have we looked at other engineering approaches to that in the box culvert design?
No, we haven't even picked one yet, so I mean, it doesn't, to me, right now, it's irrelevant of what we're going to do right now, because we haven't even picked one. We need to pick one first, if you ask me, I mean, good grief.
The stream crossing class showed several different ways to do the same thing, with having having a natural bottom, but it didn't have to be that big bloody box sticking out. And, there are other alternatives. The Audubon Society sends us information on it all the time. They may have somebody they can suggest to give you a good design. They try to make them natural. And I really think, it's a pretty area and people take good care of their homes. It's a shame not to do something attractive too if it's possible.
My concern is more safety.
Well, I mean, the only other thing you could do is have them go out there and legitimately measure the stream up through there, like go like beyond, like they said, but I don't.
Well, I think they're gonna have to. I think you're gonna have to do all that and find out, because if we're gonna do this, I'd just soon do it right.
Yeah.
And if the width of the stream is 10 feet, then we're gonna make it for the 10 foot, and if it's 20 feet.
It has to be 1.2, has to be
Awesome if it was 20
1.2.
foot, because MDOT would take control over it.
Maybe we'll be lucky then.
Honestly, that would. Well, I feel like that's the only other thing we could do.
I thought they only took it over if it was 20 foot.
Right, if it was 20 foot,
If they get a bridge number, if it's 10 foot, which it does have.
Well, the only other thing was if it was a 20
So
foot
they,
span.
right, so they inspect it every 2 years
That's gonna be
because
all
it has.
part of the engineering, when they go out to the engineering for the actual design, they're gonna have to do the hydraulic report. I'd almost guarantee they're gonna have to do that, right? They're looking at one of some sort.
Yeah, so,
But I'll make a motion that we go with the third option,
so,
The box
the
culvert.
box cover.
okay.
I second.
A second that? All right, so. All right, and what was your motion again?
Then we go with the box cover.
All right, so we're gonna recommend option 3?
Yeah. And I'm sure they'll get a couple designs when they get the engineering actually solidified on.
Correct.
With the lifting of the road and stuff, because they don't even have the elevations or anything like that on that, so.
And how
you don't know
far
what's
the
gonna-
aprons are gonna go out.
Exactly.
And I
Until
think
we
that's
get
like,
the actual engineer
well, I think this is the other thing that kind of like frustrated me with all these questions, that we haven't even picked one yet, you know what I mean? Yeah, you could have sat there and did it, but like, you're gonna we would have prolonged the sketches by who knows how long. You go out there like, shoot, that's why they gave us 3 sketches. If they could win with 1, yeah, we probably could have answered all the questions, I mean, but like they literally, it was legitimately get 3 sketches and we'll pick one what we want. I mean, that's.
All right, Joyce, one last comment before we take a vote?
Well, the only thing I would remind you of, I think Will's got a good point, is hypothetically, you pick the box culvert with an open bottom. That does not mean you have to go with Ransom's design. That's a sketch plan. And if I remember correctly, it's been a few years since I went to the Audubon, and I'm sorry, I don't remember what the class was called.
It was for stream crossing.
Stream crossing, is if you are awarded this grant, there is money in it for engineering. So if we have decided that we're gonna go with a box culvert, okay, we don't need to use that sketch plan. We can send out to engineers, different companies. The only thing I would say about that is make sure you got a company that works in shoreland, because, even for houses, you want a contractor that works in shoreland.
I think for prior.
And let them come up, they may come up with 3 or 4 designs for a box culvert.
Prior rounds of the grant allowed, I think it was, if my memory serves me right, $30,000.
That's what I remember, $30,000 for engineering.
Yeah.
So, you could go to different, when you send those out, And you can say, okay, give us, you know, I didn't wear the first wedding dress I tried on a half a dozen. So we want to look at a half a dozen different sketches of an open bottom box culvert. Don't, you know, and I think that will, you know, fits Will's thought process a lot closer than, you know, we don't have to take what's on the table. Thanks.
Okay. All right, so box culvert with an open bottom.
Yeah.
Could we amend it to say open bottom culvert?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask. That's why I'm writing it down, so I can ask Denny to amend your motion.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Okay, so recommend a box culvert with an open bottom.
Yeah.
That's the current motion.
I second.
Okay, all right. Any other discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Okay, all right.
I had a motion for recommending a project manager for this to present to the selectmen. If
I'll second
anybody,
that.
Okay,
thank you.
okay. Any discussion?
Unless that's something Will wants to do.
Well, I feel like this is what they're gonna do. They're gonna make
I mean,
me,
if that's something you wanna do, is be the
well, I don't
project
even, I mean,
manager on it.
personally, I don't even think they're, I mean, I'm not talking to the selectmen, but I mean, I don't think they're gonna entertain hiring a project manager. I mean,
Well, we can recommend anything we want to recommend, and they can ignore anything we say.
well, I mean, I
For
mean,
the advantage, it takes some work off you, but if it's something you wanna do, then
Yeah,
well, I mean,
Before you do it,
if they wanna entertain it, I mean, that's fine, but I feel like they're gonna be like, well, that's the whole point we have a road commissioner for, but, I mean, I mean, we can say it to them, that's totally up to them. I mean, most they're gonna say is no, so, I mean, you can ask the question.
It's going to be a full-time job.
well, there's gonna be a lot of work involved, especially during the project.
All
I mean,
the details, and you're gonna have to, so it's a full-time job.
Yeah, it is.
so, all right, any other discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Okay. So I will go to the selectmen meeting on Wednesday and give them these two recommendations. And then we will go from there. Okay, so that puts that to bed. Next thing on the agenda is the snow and ice classes coming up. I think that's, what is it, November 2nd?
Second.
November. Will, I didn't, you never answered my email, so I registered me, Cindy, Adam, and you had one other guy, right?
Yep.
So, so those are done. When I was at the conference, I also spoke to Tammy Chamberlain about other classes, and, because she's the one that schedules them. So they only have 2 people doing classes, which are, Paul Brown, who is the road ranger,
Right.
and Pete Coughlin. So those are the only 2 doing classes, so,
Busy 2 guys.
huh?
Probably 2 pretty busy guys.
Yeah. So she's been trying to get them to do more classes, but she's, says that they're very, very busy. So,
What kind of classes did you find out what they have coming up, or?
well, there's nothing else going on right now except snow and ice. So they've been going all over the state with that. I did ask them to, try to schedule a torts class, which would be liabilities. So I think that would be good for us to be able to get, if we can get them to come down here and do it. But that's the deal with classes, that they just don't have the manpower. I'd like to get some more education in here.
No, it's understandable, so.
I threw on here sand and salt usage, just because at one of the selectmen meeting that we're ordering more sand than usual. Do you guys want to talk about that
Because it was a really icy winter last year. So, I mean, we ended up using a lot more sand than we usually do. I mean, we had ice storm after ice storm after ice storm.
Yeah.
And it needed to be treated constantly. So we're out a lot more than we usually are.
Yeah, we put up sand last week and, we only put in 1,728 yards, if you want to be exact. And, yeah, I mean, we had a hard time getting salt last year, so I hauled in 1,000 ton this spring just to have it, and we probably didn't go through, I don't know, I really don't know off the top of my head how much we went through putting sand up. It wasn't much. We still have,
Quite a bit.
we have probably over 600 ton, if not 700 left in the corner in there, so, I mean, we're not, I mean, I don't think like Adam said last year, I mean, it was icy, I mean, we certainly did use a lot of sand last year, I mean, and then I
How much
think,
did you use, Will? You know?
probably,
Roughly?
I mean, we probably put in about that last year for yardage, probably maybe a little less, and so probably, I'd say probably 2,500, maybe 3,000,
Yeah.
probably. I mean, there's probably 800 yards left in the left-hand corner this morning when we started, so I mean, there weren't much
We got
left
to the
there.
back of the building, which is, hopefully we'll see it again this year. We don't want to put up too much.
Oh, well, no. You'll leave enough room in there to work.
Yeah.
Right, but, no, we put up 1,700 yards, and we probably mix in, I mean, I wouldn't say we used probably no more than like 300, maybe, if that. So, but, yeah, no, I mean, last year was last year, I mean, everyone is different, but I think, you know, I think we do pretty good, so.
Yeah, if it's just a straight snowy winter, we use less material.
And I think, and I order all the salt in the wintertime, and I think, I have to go back and look if you want that, but I think I maybe only ordered an extra maybe 10 loads of salt last year from what we hauled in. I mean, we always have probably 100 ton on hand, so, I mean, I just haul it in as we kinda need it, but, you know, different applications, I mean, we went out with straight salt last year, we had times we went out with straight salt, you know, some of that ice we had, we would go out with it, and, I mean,
Now, I know the state would prefer us to use less sand. Does it work better? I mean, I don't know.
yeah, all has its,
Salt priority is, it has good and bad,
Depends on the storm.
it depends on the storm, like, we are a salt priority town in Kennebunkport, like, we only use sand when it's ice, but you gotta keep up with it, you get pack, I mean,
Sand winds up being very expensive at $300 to $500 a yard for the total cost of it when all is said and done. It doesn't go anywhere, you've got to clean it up. No, I'm for brine, quite frankly, and a bare roads policy.
we have no mag chloride style or calcium chloride, which I'm not mag chloride's great, it's a good tool, it's not an.
It works well. I'm not a fan of it, but it works well.
It works well, but it only takes all it does is it takes your salt working temperature and drops it like 5 degrees.
Yeah, it keeps the salt from bouncing off the road.
Right, and that's a big
Mix it
thing.
right.
If you have say it's a 10-degree storm, the salt doesn't work. You need water for salt to work. And that's where sand comes in better. That's why you see sand up north, you know.
It's a lot colder.
Right,
We had a cold winter.
right. And if you get pack, it doesn't matter what you have, it's scrape, scrape, scrape.
Yep.
I think it's 6.5, I mean, honestly, I think it's, honestly, 6.5, one dozen the other, I mean.
Right,
you could,
it goes by the storm.
Right, I mean, there's been times where we haven't had to go out in the mornings, because we got sand on our roads, we could drive down 109, and it's, you know, it's, I mean, I don't know, I don't know, I'm a big believer in having sand. I mean, yeah, we could probably venture down that road and maybe going a little bit more salt, but, I think the other thing too is, it's a lot more traffic on the roads. I mean, you take the mornings, you're plowing, I mean, if you're treating the road, you take the hill by the dump in the mornings, I usually have a bare spot in the middle of the hill. I mean, there's all about your traffic, you know, the heat of your wheels, you know, you run that material to the middle of the road. I mean, you could keep a decent bare strip in the middle of the road.
I judge it based on the hill by my house, because that hill is horrible.
Right.
And when I can get out, and there's been a lot of times over the years, we have not been able to get out, because that hill was not treated properly.
Hope you can get out now.
I've got to say that I have, in the last 3 years.
Sounds about right.
I have not been, I've always been able to get out, even on days I thought I wasn't gonna be able to, because I knew I was leaving early in the morning.
Right.
It's like, there's no way they're out there cleaning that road.
Right.
But, so that's how I judge it. But then, that hill, I know you guys use a lot of sand on that hill, and it's a straight shot right down into the lake.
Yeah, I mean, we could have that whole conversation about West Shore Drive, I mean, I don't know, I mean, I look this way, we go out, we do our job, and everybody, we try to keep the roads as safe as we can, so I mean, unless somebody's gonna come to me and tell me to stop using sand or petition, then, we've already had that once, and it didn't happen, but, I don't know, I mean, just gonna keep doing what we're doing,
Well, I just wanted to, just to have a, little discussion about it, it's,
No, I mean, I know we
because
said.
it was a significant amount of sand extra that we ordered, or that we,
Yeah, no, we only said that, we could've filled that building, no problem, but every year, I think like I said, even last year, I don't think we put in as much, maybe 15 or 16, and, we went through all that, and we got into some year prior stuff, but, if we put up like 2,000 yards every year, we'll probably go through just about that, but we've never gone, since we never had to haul any sand down, we never run out, so,
and the last thing I have on the
we got it for a
agenda,
pretty good price too, that's why we kept hauling, $10 a yard is pretty dirt cheap. That's cheap. Yeah.
the Bridge Ranger, I'd like to, have the Bridge Ranger come in and look at our poor bridges. So, but I'd like to have a vote from the committee allowing me to do that per our ordinance. So,
It's just the same guy we've been trying to get to come down?
I'm trying to get, I wanna get him to come down, but before I actually, pull the trigger and make that phone call.
Is that the same guy that they told? I feel like I'm talking about two different guys here.
Jim Foster, the one that the selectmen were gonna have come down, but it hasn't happened.
They just hired him. He worked for like 30 years in the business.
Oh, all right. Well, I feel like I talked to somebody about the West Shore Drive Bridge from the state, and I think they talked about that Jim Foster guy.
Yeah, so anyway, so
I
I'd
heard he
like,
was good.
I'd like to have a motion to allow me to call him and try to get him down here to take a look at our bridges.
Is he an engineer?
I don't know. Actually, let me... How many of these do I have?
Did you meet this guy up there?
No, Paul Brown is the road ranger. He's the one that came down and did the, snow and ice class the last time, when we had it here.
So he works for the state?
Yeah, he works for the state.
I think we can use all the free good advice we can get. And if he's available to us, we should take it.
Yeah, so, like I said, I just need a vote to allow me to call him, that's all.
Okay, well, I move that we'd be allowed to call him and see if he can come down.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Okay. One thing I'd like to pick your brain for a minute about...
Oh, geez.
Striping?
Yep, line striping.
Line striping, yes. What kind of guidance can you give us on this?
We hire it out.
What can we do and what can't we do? Is more what I'm...
That's something for DOT to ask.
Probably width of the roads and all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. We hire, they've been doing it for so long, they know exactly who, and which roads to do every year. Like I said, we hire, I can get you the name of the company
Okay.
that comes out, they're out of Augusta. They come in at night and do it.
But basically what I think we need to do is find out what we can and can't do on our roads.
Right.
I know a couple years ago, we wanted to do fog lines, to help, because we have a lot of people who can't see at night, and to keep them safe.
Yep.
And the selectmen decided that wasn't,
Do we have a budget for,
we do not.
so we're gonna have to add that in for the
Yeah.
24 budget?
Yeah, so, I mean, the budgets haven't been done yet for
Yeah,
the
you guys are
following year.
You're due in a couple of months, right? 2
Yeah.
months?
Yeah,
Well, I think our problem is some of our roads aren't even wide enough. You gotta think about,
that's why I wanna know, what exactly is
have to
the
have
width that's
If
required?
you contact one of those companies though,
They should, yeah,
well,
yeah.
you can't, you gotta have at least a double yellow line. You can't have a single anymore. I mean, I've looked
And
into
I know
it.
you can't have a single line,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I think you
You can
can.
still have a single line.
I saw them in Kennybunk and asked Rick, can you explain how we can do
You
it?
can still have a single line, but it goes by road width and speed limit.
Right. Well, I talked to a guy at the state, I talked to somebody at the state about line striping, and he told me that they're trying to get away from the single white line. They want to have like 2 double yellow lines, because like liability, if somebody claims they didn't think it was, well, in theory, it's supposed to be wide, what are they, like 4 inches wide, I think this.
Wider than that, they're like 6.
Yeah, it's 4 inches wide, because otherwise you lose a foot out of the
Right, so I mean, we got 10-foot roads, I mean, you lose, that's 4 inches on each side, I mean, and he told me if you have a 11-foot road, that's when you'd be better off to start double line striping.
Right.
I mean, but the problem is, once we do it, we got it for life, I mean, there's no going
It's
back.
every year that they gotta be done, pretty
Right,
much.
the minute they start fading, he said,
Depending on the ADT.
Right.
If it's under 600, then it can be done every other year.
yeah, but he told me the minute, he said, even if you have a certain section of road that gets more sun, it starts to fade, they'll make you do the whole thing, you know. I mean, it said, it gets pretty pricey, I guess.
Yeah.
I did a little bit of research today. I thought I took a screenshot of it, but I guess I didn't, where it said that a single center line is not allowed anymore.
Maybe if you have,
If you've
Yeah, I
been
was
doing
gonna say,
it,
we still, they've been still doing it, like
maybe if it was,
Kings
Maybe-
Highway,
maybe if it was done prior to a certain date, that
Yeah.
you have to keep it up, but, I don't,
I'm sure your Kings Highway is a single.
Yeah, we're not wide enough for a double center.
No.
And, I mean,
did you-
it's just really hard to see at night. That's why I'm following you at home. When you're an old lady and, you're going down the H Road, there's very little visibility.
That's a tough road. That's a wide road though, too.
It's 19 to 20 feet, I think, pretty much, right?
Yeah, I have areas, I mean, they've shimmed overlaid so many times, they add a couple inches every time. Like, you go down the road, you'll stop, take a measurement, and it'll be, like 10'8", then you'll go up the road and be like 11'1", 6.5, and that's,
Yeah.
I messed up when I paved up there, I should have put wider lanes in, but for another time. I've been pushing for 11-foot, like, when I did Acton Ridge last year, those were all 11-foot lanes up there.
Right.
If I can put them in, I put them in.
yeah, so I was hoping you would have some inside info on that
I
we
can get
could
you the company
use.
that we use, so I can ask Chris.
All right, yeah, because I thought I saw somewhere, and of course it's, I must have closed it out, or I used a different device
Yeah.
to look for it.
I know there are roads in town that are single yellow. Kings Highway, New Bedford, and Dyke Road are all single, but those are narrow roads, narrow roads, and those have a white line too, they got a fog line.
Yeah, so, but we did want a fog lines a couple years ago, at least on our main roads like H Road, Hopper, and whatever.
Yeah.
Just to try to help,
How about a speed limit
safety.
sign on Hopper Road?
a what?
Yeah. It's 3 different speed limit signs.
I know. So like in 5 minutes, I'm gonna call the state to get the road surveys of all the roads.
see what it is.
Find out what it is, cause I got, my road doesn't have a speed limit sign, Langley Shores doesn't have a speed limit sign on it. Multiple roads have been stolen, so I don't know what they are. And I can't just throw one up because of liability, so I gotta get,
It's all set by the state.
yeah, so I gotta call it. I got the guy's number on my phone, I just need 5 minutes to sit down and do it.
yeah, Pete Coughlin can probably rattle off all of the regulations to me if I can get in touch with him.
Yeah, there's a certain guy to call for that. think it's in Scarborough, to get all the information on the speed limits.
Yeah, all right. Does anyone else have anything? Oh, what about our next meeting?
I don't need anything with like the bridge,
Yeah,
I'd say we're probably, I think we're probably about done with that, right? I mean, I don't see what else more to.
but we need to start talking about Row Bridge too. So, and I think at one of our last meetings, I asked, I threw out a question as to what you guys wanted to work on. Now that we've wrapped up our part of West Shore Drive for the moment. So, has anyone given that any thought?
Really, the only major project we gotta do is the road bridge.
I think that's the next big thing. Get locked in and do something on that. It's been a long time.
We don't want it to be another, how many years?
It's already been 4, I think, since we put money forward for the engineering. Right, we haven't gone anywhere after that.
Never went anywhere after that.
That's probably the next big thing that we gotta try to tackle. It's sitting over everybody's head for a while.
You know, hopefully West Shore Drive will not be forgotten.
I don't think so, it won't be at this point.
Oh, it's gonna be a lot of work, and
Oh, yeah?
it's, you know, it took us a long time to get where we are today. And,
Yeah, but the selectmen should be able to move this thing forward in a fairly timely manner. I mean,
Hope so.
I can't see why it ain't in front of everybody for town meeting or whatever the situation is on that. I mean, I think it's gonna be a year or 2 years out at least.
I think
All construction companies right now are pretty well backed up.
I think it's gonna be 2 years
So
also.
you're gonna probably be a year probably from the time you actually get it, the bid out.
Right.
Yeah,
And we budget for it.
Yeah.
I think the budgeting is the least onerous part of it. Because there is money already put aside for it. If we get a grant, it would be,
It'd almost pay for it, not that close, but it could
It would-
help.
it would,
It definitely took, put a dent in it.
yeah. So between the grant and the money we already have put aside, that could cover it. So. Right. Anything else?
So,
Make a motion, we adjourn.
I second it.
Okay. All in favor? All right, thank you.